Thank you. I now recognize Representative Kamlager Dover for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, I know this was discussed, but Assistant Administrator, I think USAID is doing important work, and your work with PEPFAR has been transformational, and I certainly support a clean reauthorization. I also hope that we find ways to counter the recent policy in Uganda and work to make sure that it doesn't infect and affect the rest of the continent, because, you know, hate kills. Assistant Secretary, I would ask if you could find a way to maybe give this committee a briefing on the status of Ethiopia. I talked to some constituents last night, and there are some real concerns of a potential coup or deep unrest. And so hoping that, I just think that that country cannot afford that kind of instability. And lastly, I just want to say that I actually do believe that there's a strong correlation between the countries who were most brutal in their colonization and the perpetual instability of those respective countries. And I hope that we can find ways to lean on those European countries who are our allies to ask them to do better and to step up. So now my questions are, the Digital Transformation for Africa initiative, I believe, could be a game changer. And I would love to hear from both of you what metrics or goals are you using to both monitor its implementation and also to track its success?
She always makes me go first. We're so excited you've highlighted that. This has the potential to be impactful in a way that PEPFAR has been impactful. So we looked across the U.S. government to find all the different departments and agencies who in some way contributed to this effort. And we've identified $350 million in U.S. government funded programs and have tapped an additional $450 million in financing. So we're going to try and help expand digital access, digital literacy, and a good enabling environment. When the Vice President was in Zambia, building on work she's done in Latin America, she reached out to leaders in the private sector and asked them to match the U.S. government investment. So we need to turn those commitments into reality, but there's a lot of opportunity and interest there. We talked about the work we've been doing over the past few months to make real the commitments at the ALS. So we've set up a digital policy council within the government to sort of guide this investment and make sure we're taking advantage of these resources to really make a difference in this critical space. You had an opportunity to go to Abuja. I hope you can go to Lagos, where there's an incredible creative industry which is really engaged in the space. That's another area, for example, where the Diaspora Council can help us. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Everybody is focused on making good use of these resources to have the kind of impact that will make a difference in Africa. Dr.
Amen
Monday?
to the creative economy.
Yeah.
I have nothing more to add to that. I thought the Assistant Secretary covered that really well, except to say we are in lockstep with the Department of State in terms of the importance of the digital transformation in Africa to our future efforts across the development, security, and governance sectors.
So you have 1 extra minute of my time. So I would just like you to continue to talk about the vibrancy and the potential of the creative economy in Africa. You can talk about Lagos or you can go other places, but I think it's incredibly important that we understand the power of this industry and how we can leverage it.
I would just say that one of the things I particularly enjoy in my job is visiting the continent with the young Africans and just seeing the creativity and the solutions and ideas that they are bringing to many of the challenges that their countries are facing in the security sector, in the health sector, in the education sector. And so creating an environment in which we can harness all of that really not just centers African agency, but also enables us to spend less on the humanitarian, the security issues over the long term. And so for me, finding ways of amplifying these creatives on the continent is absolutely critical to our success in terms of our U.S.-Africa engagement.